Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Noah Jackson, and on behalf of Golden Hippo, I am very happy to be bringing you this special presentation, send-off interview with a very amazing and very special guest today. He is the People's Executive. He is perhaps the best VSL writer in the entire world, and we are very sad to see that he is leaving Golden Hippo. But it is my pleasure to introduce you to Adam Ferrisati.
Oh, hello.
Hello, Adam. How are you today?
I'm sad. It's a send-off.
It is a send-off, but it's also a new beginning. It's the new year.
That's true.
So,
and by the way, thank you for this amazing set.
Of course.
You guys, I got a "We Will Miss You" here.
Yeah.
And I also will miss this wall.
Yes, the Gundry podcast wall.
I like the star. I don't know if people can see there's stars everywhere. You guys really went all out.
Yes, I mean it's golden
grateful.
For the golden years that you were about to
Yes, as I enter into my senior years. But thanks for having me.
Of
Excited
course.
Appreciate you inviting me on.
Anytime, of course. We're happy to chat. So, so you're retiring, and I think we just wanted to kind of get your perspective on your time here at Golden Hippo and what you can part with us and like any words of wisdom. But what was your journey like sort of getting to Golden Hippo? And I personally have done my research and know that you have a more creative writing background. What sort of inspired the transition to the work you do here on sort of like the marketing and advertising side?
Well, what inspired is when I was broke.
That's
and so yeah, I was a screenwriter in my 20s. And I, right after college started, I was bartending for work. So I was like bartending and waiting tables and that kind of thing. And then my writing partner and best friend, Ethan Furman, who, spoiler alert, also works at Golden Hippo, he and I were screenwriters. That went well for like a while. There was like 5 really great years there where we were like selling scripts and we were working at like the big studios and that kind of stuff. And then there was a big writer strike, and there was a recession, kind of similar to what just happened in the last 2 years. And like stuff dried up. So I ended up leaving screenwriting, like aggressively leaving it, and going to Asia, where I sort of ended up there. And I was bumming around Asia for like a year. I ended up on a farm, as people know the story. But when I came back to Golden Hippo, I was 35 years old. I just needed any job. And so I was like literally out of money. I had saved up enough to live for like 2 years and in shacks in Asia and in weird monasteries and tents on farms. And then I was out of money, and Golden Hippo, Ethan could get me a job at Golden Hippo paying $17 an hour. I was so stoked. I was like, I need this lifeline. And then I was like, what do I even do? And he was like, you'd be like an email writer. We have like an email list that needs a writer. And so I was like, I'll take it. And I honestly only planned on, like in those days, I could like make that much money for like 3 months and like live for another 3 months without work. That wasn't my plan. I don't know what happened. A blink of an eye, and it's 11 years later, and I'm leaving. So yeah, that was sort of, it wasn't like, oh, I don't want to work in creative stuff anymore. I had to. But it ended up, if I could have seen the future, I would have been doing this the whole time.
Okay.
Because the creative stuff is, in Hollywood, for instance, you've got like 5 or 6 people who run studios, and if they don't, even if you write something great, write a great screenplay, if they don't like it, it's not selling.
Yep.
And if it's like kind of good, but not that good, it doesn't sell for like half as much. It sells for 0. So it's like super like not merit-based because it's all very like subjective to whoever is making those decisions. Whereas copywriting is the exact opposite. If you put something up on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, and it's good. People are like, I want that product, I like that creative. They just buy it, and nobody can argue. It's just a very results-based business. So that immediately in the first like week I was here, I was excited by it.
Oh, that's fascinating. And it sounds like it was very trial by fire for you. I mean, now it's like, with the copywriting team, there's like a 2-week trial period, like the application process is intense, but...
It was intense in a different way when I started.
Okay.
I've already told people the story before. My friend Ethan gets me the job here, but he really just got me like, he's like, I'll get you an interview or whatever. And it wasn't even an interview at that time. It was a writer's test.
Okay.
And then he put me in touch with Steve Teagle, who was running the writing team at the time. He taught me a lot of everything I know about copywriting. And then he was like, write something. I forget what it was. It was a writing sample. And so I wrote it. And then the process at the time was that some of the partners would read it.
Oh no.
Now, this is what happened. He said, I showed it to 2 of the partners and they both didn't like it. But because you're Ethan's friend, we're going to give you a trial. Okay. So I don't know to this day which of the 2 partners rejected my sample, but I want to say I showed you.
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't. I made them a lot of money, so they were the ones who were happy about it.
A symbiotic relationship.
It was a symbiotic relationship. But so anyway, that's what happened. But yeah, I just sort of like, it was different back then. There was only 35 people at the company.
That is wild.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of the early days, but it sounds like it's such a far departure from where we are as a company now compared to then. Yeah.
There's pros and cons, but it was definitely we all were living. I mean, there's people obviously who predate me who were working in the mansion. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I've heard of the mansion. Yes.
Yeah. So we were in a smaller office in Tarzana, but yeah, some things were very different, going from 35 to whatever we are now, 500.
500 something. Yeah.
But some things the same. As you come in, it was a Tuesday all hands meeting, you know, and we had parties. And we sold stuff.
Oh, we had parties.
And
that's
supplements.
For sure.
Yeah. Some things are the same.
Was there like a turning point for you personally, starting this role where you were like, okay, yes, this is something I can do that I'm good at, that you could see yourself doing for 11 years now?
Yeah, I got lucky because the thing that I do, so okay, this is 11 years ago I started. Like the most important thing at the company then I think was copywriting. I don't want to say, it's not the only thing that was important, and all of the teams are important, but the things that created a new front end for us, a new customer acquisition funnel, was copywriting. And even more so than now, because we didn't even have really celebrities back then, and even we didn't really film stuff. You know, everything was just either like text in email, or BSLs back then were mostly a voiceover plus Ben Teagle, also an original Hippo, he would do the hand drawing on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
So we didn't even have production teams, and so everything was just words, and that was my background. So I'd been, before screenwriting, I'd always been like a writer. I don't know if I was any good at it, but you know, even just like in middle school and high school, I was like good at writing essays and those types of things. So I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Was there like a specific point that you can remember where you?
See how old I am now? I'm just forgetting things mid whatever.
No, you're good.
So I start, and I wrote. They asked me to write an email, and I wrote an email, and it like made a lot of money.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad I'm good at. I'm not going to get fired my first week. I was happy about that. And then I think the next month they had another one, and then I asked, hey, can I just get my own login to the shopping cart to see the sales come in? Because someone said it made a lot of money. I was like, yeah, but how much? I don't even. What does that mean? What does being a good email mean? What does having a lot of sales mean? And then when I started watching them come in and seeing how they performed and which ones performed better, then I could see, I was like, oh wait, I think I'm actually be good at this. Like I can see that I'm getting better and better. So again, I was lucky that I was in a spot because I mean, I forget the left brain, right, which one's which. Like I'm like verbal and like that kind of thing, but I also love numbers.
Oh, interesting.
And so the fact that kind of clicked for me was important. And when that happened, it was like 2 things. One is that it made it more interesting to me. I would get that dopamine hit. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever gamble or you're like going to a casino or you know, just seeing numbers ding, 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 ding going up. So I got that right in my first month. And that made it interesting to keep writing. I don't even know if I really like writing. But I do like the ding, ding, ding dopamine of those things happening. So I guess I was like kind of good like right from the get-go. Again, kind of lucky. It just sort of combines a few skills that I had not been profitable prior to that. But yeah, so it was early-ish on, and again, I'm really grateful to the people. I didn't create VSL writing, obviously, right? So Ethan, who brought me in, was already writing VSL successfully. All of us were basing what we were doing off of Craig Clemens, one of the founders of the company, and Craig is. Whatever I'm accomplishing, I'm like standing on the shoulders of giants. Do you know what I mean? Because Craig basically is the godfather of this whole way of communicating ideas when it comes to supplements, when it comes to dog food. What we're doing here with long-form copywriting, I think Craig really refined that and mastered it. And so he'd already written these scripts. So they were scaled up, they were doing a lot of money, we had a whole company, and so I would just read his scripts and be like, okay, let me try to figure that out. So to me, it was like not a complicated process to go from, can you write, can you be persuasive, to oh, here's a new template for that. Here's a new format. And the format always made sense to me. I was like, I totally get why it is better to talk to people about something for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or even an hour than in 30 seconds. So that fit for me.
I think that's an important point that you make, because I know when I first started here, it's kind of hard to appreciate that what we do is very unique in that you don't see a lot of long form advertising. And even when you do, it's not always successful.
Right.
So I know when I interviewed here, they recommend that you watch a VSL. So I watched the Gundry VSL and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I usually would not watch an ad for like 30 or 40 minutes.
Right.
But it hooks you. It's very convincing. And we're one of the few places that does that well.
I'll come almost like one of the last at this point. So I agree. Nobody, for 11 years I've been talking to people and be like, oh, I have different roles, right? I'm a copywriter, or I'm a chief marketing officer. Or I'm more likely to say like, I work with teams to build brands or build brands for celebrities or those kinds of things. But it's too hard to describe what we kind of really do here as a core thing, which is long form copywriting. Because most people don't engage with these ads like to their knowledge. But a lot of people do watch VSLs, but they are like, I'm just watching free content, which means it's a good VSL. So you think you're watching a long video, right? And what's really going on is that this is a better way of educating and informing and entertaining people than, again, just like an ad that's like 50% off, whatever, is not interesting. But if you look at it, the whole world has come around to this format. They just do it differently. Podcasts are like this. When you just go, people are like, I just want to spend time on YouTube. We used to you pay to get on YouTube to watch a long video, and now people are like, no, this is what I want to do. I want to hear two people talk and share information, more so than watch like a cheesy 30-second commercial on TV. So I actually feel that this was always better. And then people say, well, people have shorter and shorter attention spans. No, they don't. They binge watch hours and hours and hours of seasons of shows on Netflix, right? So people actually do that. But in terms of a selling format, and the real tricky part of this is explaining it to celebrities.
Yes.
Because whenever we work with a new brand, and then you're dealing with like a big actor or an actress or somebody who's had, they've probably done endorsement deals before, and they're planning to be like, okay, hi, have you blah, 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 this is the best one, all right. And then I'm done, and I want to go home. And we're like, hey, we need to read this 30-minute long script. And everyone is super hesitant at first. And I think one of the big parts of my job that was like, you had to learn on the fly was like, how does that look like to educate the gurus, the avatars for these brands, that this is a great way to do that. And obviously we have so many big celebrity brands that have done, hundreds and hundreds of millions in sales. So it's a lot easier now, and I think the word is out that this is it's not just like a great way to build a brand, but it actually builds such a different level of goodwill, I think, towards the person who is the star of that video. And it allows them to connect with people in a totally different way that everybody loves. And if you read the comments on the videos, it's like, oh my God, thank you for sharing this. So yeah, I feel lucky to have stumbled onto what Craig and Golden Hippo had already really discovered before I got here.
That's amazing. What would you say was like one of the strangest or most unexpected ways in which you were either able to get inspired for a VSL, or perhaps convince a celebrity to do a VSL? What have you found on your journey that's been unexpected in that regard, in terms of your inspiration or your motivation?
Inspired, for me the process is to just talk to, whether it's the celebrity or a doctor like Stephen Gundry, and usually they are a fountain of information. Dr. Gundry is encyclopedically brilliant, and so incredible things have happened when I just am like, hey, can we just talk about this? What are you interested in? Or I read his books, and we talk to him about it, and so we're always able to come up with cool content that way. So anyway, the epiphanies come from just talking and talking and talking to people, or reading and reading, or researching and researching, until that one sort of that's what I would want to hear about.
That's really interesting because I always wondered like how research intensive the process is to a VSL, but at the same time, if you get too academic with it, it might turn some people off. But it sounds like it's striking that interesting balance of like what is personal, what is authentic, but also what is true and what is, important about the product.
Right. Well, you bring up a good point, which is I feel if someone were like, "What's your like? What are you good at with this?" Right? But I would like one of the things that I think I do is I just like I edit myself down, and that's true. A lot of writers know like that they overwrite, and I overwrite. But you're also editing down ideas, and so. But again, that's the thing where you can pick up a book on a subject, and it's like 500 pages long. There's like infinity VSLs in there. That doesn't mean that you should write them all or that you could write them. You would lose a lot of money, you know what I mean, in terms of producing all of that, and most of it wouldn't resonate. So what you're really trying to do is make a list of like what are interesting topics, and then be brutal with that list. For me, at least personally, if we're talking about, by the way, VSLs, long form copywriting, means a lot of different things now. I mean, 5 minutes is long. I've written Gundry VSLs that are an hour, which is crazy, I think, in our current, landscape. But
I think that's the one I watched. It was long. It was like 40 minutes.
Yeah, so they're long, but what you're trying to, if you have the right idea, long form. This is the thing about long form. You're not trying to ramble as much as you can to fill up 40 minutes or to fill up 30 minutes. That's terrible. And that's why most people, it's like boring when they do it. What you're trying to do is to find one big idea that supports talking about, that's so interesting, that it supports talking about 10 or 15 other little mini good ideas that are all interesting. And all of it is about this one subject, which is health, which is about digestive health, which is about dog health, which is about the dangers of kibble, which is about, what are contributing factors to aging, whatever you're trying to talk about. So, yeah, inspiration can come from a lot of places, I guess.
Interesting. What would you say is a mistake you see a lot with like VSL writing, or like something you wish people would unlearn in trying to craft a VSL?
Well, just like people write like they took a copywriting class, and it's terrible. And I have a lot of people who I've edited. We have so many great writers at Golden Hippo. But for whatever reason, when you get into long form, sometimes there's this, I'm not a good dancer, so I don't know if this would be like a good analogy, but it'd be like if you were trying to dance like you think what dancing is, and then someone was like, just relax. Do you know what I mean? So I just try to write those things. I just write like I talk. And again, I'm not trying to be like, okay, how can I fill up enough time to make this long? It's not how I do it. I just, so I think people are trying to write, but also, the big transition that I think that Golden Hippo made, that I made personally, to bring us from like sort of 12, 11, 10 years ago, how long form worked, which was that long form back then was like just text on a page. So you would go to like a website, you know what I mean, something.com, and like read literally down. And then what Craig was doing was being like, hey, this should be a voiceover, and this should be a video that you watch. But even in those days, no celebrities. And so especially when it became like more and more like, no, I want to watch real people talking. So it has to be real at that point. And like people who are real people who are talking, they don't talk in like bullet points. The way that you're formatting things. But a lot of the entire copywriting like ecosystem is all based on that old way. And so you're learning it from these guys who are legends, obviously, but that's just not what it is right now. It's writing for celebrity, writing for in that sort of a natural way. But it is tricky. How do I create organic, like authentic stuff to come out of somebody else's mouth that is also entertaining, that does not sound like copywriting? It is copywriting because you're a copywriter and you wrote it. But how do you do that? And I think it is tricky, but that would be like the main thing where I think people mess up. It's basically just overwriting and over copywriting. When in fact I was just working with a writer yesterday And I told him, I gave him a bunch of notes, and I just crossed everything out. I said, he said, I'm trying to make this idea more interesting. I said, you always have good ideas. You never have to worry about that. Just cut 50% of what you are trying to say, and make it 50% less complicated. For him, that's what he needs to do. And that's probably like a universal type of thing. Especially if if you've already talked to people and you're like, I have this idea, and everyone's like, I like that idea. Then all you can do is fuck it up by talking too much about it, right? And so I'm always like, things should be, I think the reason why things should just be however long they're going to be. And so it could be an hour, but I haven't written anything in an hour long in years. A lot of things are 20 minutes long right now, is a good length that I see. But if I felt something was better at 12 minutes, it would be 12. If I thought it was better at 45, it'd be 45. And if I was better at 3 minutes, it's 3 minutes. Do all of it. So that's sort of, say as much as you need to say to be entertaining and educational. Talk to the audience about what they want to hear, what they want to learn about, and then that's it. And don't add any more to that.
Interesting. So even though like you aggressively quit screenwriting, do you think that there's stuff about screenwriting that like, I mean, I'm hearing you and I'm hearing like cut dialogue or like find the authentic voice of like the person you're writing for. Do you think any of that like carried over?
Nope.
No.
Okay, I'll tell you something. So Ethan is my great friend and a great VSL writer and copywriter before I got here, and he had already had success. And then he brings me in, and I had success. So we're both screenwriters, and so I think that the idea was like, is there something about screenwriting? But we have lots of There's a lot of people. We live in LA, so a lot of people who are writers are already going to be screenwriters. But I think it's actually another problem, which is like, you don't, this idea of like, I just was reading something, it was on LinkedIn or I don't know what it was, but somebody was talking about like, everyone is now hiring for roles that involve storytelling and these kinds of things, which is great, and that is part of what we do. But I do think it sort of leads people's minds to the wrong place, which is that people will resonate first and foremost with a story, which is not accurate. If you're going to do long-form copywriting, you're going to be definitely, there's going to be stories involved. I love analogy. I love like using examples and metaphors and that kind of thing. I'm not really open with them. So if that's where I say that it's like, it can be hurtful to be coming from too much of a fiction writing and screenplay writing and narratives and that kind of stuff, is that if you think you can be like, it was a cold day in December, you know what I mean? Or, guys, I wanted to talk to you about something. You know, yesterday I was walking my dog. No. That is not how to start for me. I start with talking to people directly about what are their problems, what are the solutions to those problems, what are their symptoms, what are the benefits they're looking for. That can be for anything. It doesn't have to be for selling supplements. I mean, that's for anything. Start with what's in it for me, which is not narrative based.
Very true.
So for that reason, I would say don't worry about it. You do not need to have been a former screenwriter who failed at that. There's other ways to be a copywriter.
Has there ever been a VSL that you've written that surprised you, just based off of not necessarily performance, but like how it was crafted, like what the final product ended up being?
VSL that surprised me. Well, there's a lot of times I wrote something that I thought was going to be great and it bombed.
Okay.
So there have been plenty of those. Positive surprises, but it's going to sound arrogant, I don't mean it this way, but I kind of always think they're going to work, but not like because I'm like, oh, this is so great. It's more like, for me to write something long, I have to learn it. I'm like very invested in it. So I'm always like, oh, people need to know this. Do you know what I mean? So I'm always sort of on the side. I very rarely am like, I don't like this. But also it goes even beyond that. If we're starting a new brand, we're creating a new formula, a new product, like I'm into it. Like, so in that sense, I'm always kind of thinking they're going to do well. So, but I don't know if, I mean, the first really big, I had written a few VSLs that had done well, but like weren't like giant hits. And the first one that I wrote that was a giant hit was for a VSL for a product called Total Restore for Gundry MD.
Oh yes.
And that was one where I talked to Dr. Gundry. And by the way, this is 2016. You've probably heard of leaky gut. But at this time, nobody was talking about leaky gut. And Craig actually had talked to Gundry about that and said, "Hey, Dr. Gundry's talking to me about this thing, leaky gut. It's really interesting stuff that people don't know about. You should go talk to him." So Greg was the one who kind of put me with Gundry on that. So I sat with Gundry, and Gundry told me, just talked about how so many health issues are related to this issue that people have with their digestive tract based on the foods that they were eating, which is a cornerstone of his philosophy of health and diet and nutrition. And I was like, I was just like writing, maybe I was typing, I forget what it was back then. So it was like, so I came up with everything that he's talking about. I synthesized it into a long script. We record it and we'll create this video and start talking about it. But when it was time to actually start running it, one of the top media buyers at the time, Aaron Shannon, who's obviously amazing, working the Dr. Marty team now. So I had asked him ahead of time, "Will you media buy for this?" I don't know how to media buy. And then he was like, "Yes." But then when the time came, he was like, "I'm busy. I'm not going to do it."
Oh, dang.
And this was in like November or something like that. And so I was like, "I'll wait." And he's like, "No, I'm going to give it to someone else." So I was like, "No. I want you to do it. I'll tell me what the hard work of this is, and I'll do it. What do you need?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not. If you want, fine. You can." So this is back in 2016. Media buying was mostly like Taboola and Outbrain. So it was like a lot of banner ads and headlines. He's like, "Okay, you got to go find 50 images, and I'll help you pick like 10 good ones, or write 80 headlines, and I'll help you." I was like, "Great. So I did all that. And then even when it came time to media buy, he's like, I don't want to do any of this. Here's how you upload these ads to Taboola. Here's how you upload it to Outbrain." So I basically learned how to become a media, and he was like, "Just run it yourself. I don't have time." But I'm really appreciative of him for doing that, because by telling me do everything and I'll just like kind of assist you. So I sort of learned to media buy, and then within a week that offer was scaling up, and it was fun for me to be like, again, hitting refresh and uncapping spends and seeing that work again. Conceptually, clearly, everything, decades and decades that Dr. Gundry has spent sort of researching and learning and becoming an expert on this, and people were engaging with this and being like, this really does explain a lot of what I've been feeling. And obviously, Gundry MD is a huge brand. Dr. Gundry is I think 7, 8-time New York Times bestselling author. So he's bringing all kinds of amazing background to that. But for me personally, that was sort of super exciting to like be involved in all aspects of it. And that was like when we're talking about dopamine, that was like such a dopamine hit. I think, so we're right now is, are we January 1st, 2nd? What is today?
2nd.
January 2nd, right? So for people who know, January is for direct-to-consumer marketing is like a big month. Yes. Obviously, people are making New Year's resolutions and
New Year, new me.
getting healthy, and so this has always historically for us been a big time, and Q1 sort of generally. And so that was the first and biggest time where I was like seeing a brand take off. And getting like those bing, 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 bing dopamine. That's like a high that I don't know if I'm going to get back to. And part of, if I'm being honest, is part of the reason why I have to retire, because like when the juice isn't there anymore, like what are you doing? And so for the last few years, I mean, like objectively, the last few years have, for me personally, and I think for Golden Hippo, have been amazing and like had a lot of success. And like the brands and the people that I get to partner with now are like top A-list celebrities, whoever we want to work with. And obviously our teams and everyone in this building is as good as they've ever been. Such amazing people. However, after 11 years and after doing enough of these, and then it's sort of like, I don't know what the next, the dopamine hits are getting harder to come by, which is fine. That is the natural progression of life. Yeah. And that's just your body saying, maybe move on to something that either you're not good at or that's new.
Are you sure you don't want to try like skydiving? Jump out a few planes, come back.
Land and start writing some new scripts. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, but like, I lead a very boring life, and so I need my work to be giving me all of that serotonin. And but we'll see. Maybe Yeah, a bungee jump, and
Yeah.
I'll be back in 6
A
months.
cold plunge, a bungee jump, we'll get you right back in situation.
I did a cold plunge with my buddy Jason. He has a cold plunge at his house. I don't know. He recorded me when I did it. I have never had such a high-pitched scream. I don't know what is it?
It's a lot,
Have you done this?
I haven't done a cold plunge. I've done a cryotherapy chamber, which is similar. It's just like cold air. I have not done the cold water.
It's like torture.
It is a little bit.
You did that to prisoners that you would go to a war crime.
Be a human rights violation. Yeah. And here in LA, we do it for fun.
That was wild. I was like, how long was that? He was like 41 seconds. I was like, what?
Yeah, you're supposed to stay in for like, I think like 3 minutes.
That.
I know, I did 3 minutes in the cryo chamber. By the end, I was like, get me out of here. Like,
I'm more of a sauna guy.
sauna's nice, yeah.
Or just a couch.
Yeah. A couch in a hot room, you got yourself a sauna.
Exactly.
Well, since, bungee jumping or skydiving might not be the solution, retirement might be a better option. Is there any parting advice you would give, maybe to like your younger self or even like some of the new copywriters here in terms of like what you would recommend and like for VSL writing or just for inspiration or anything like that?
Well, I mean, a few things. The trickiest struggle is to want to work really hard to make something work that's not working versus to move on and start something fresh. This is a life thing. It doesn't just apply to copywriting, although it does apply to copywriting, particularly these big projects, something like a VSL. But that to me is sort of like the struggle. I think I've used this analogy before, but my brother-in-law, Andrew, him and my sister live in Hawaii, and he grew up there. He's a big surfer, and he was teaching me to surf, and he said the most important thing is wave selection, because if you try to paddle out into every wave that is not even a rideable wave, you just get tired. And that was what I was out there for like 10 minutes, and I was already gassed. My arms were. He's like, yeah, it's not going to work now because you're all tired and it's not going to work. So wave selection, if you only though put all of your energy into things that have some sort of a chance of working, you won't burn out. You'll have a much better chance. So that's like this applies to jobs too. This applies to any job where you say it applies to relationships. It applies to life where you say, okay, hang on, what? If it was just about putting a ton of work in, then everybody would be successful at everything. They would just do it until it was successful, which is actually not how things work, I don't think. You are rewarded for putting a ton of effort into things that are going to work. And you are also rewarded to move on from things that no matter how much effort you put in could never work. So identifying the difference between those two things and developing eyes for it is, I think, very important. From a copywriting point of view, that means, and I've done this many times, we were just talking about, I'm always believe in stuff, but like we've launched brands where I was like, I believe in this so much, it's gonna work. And then at some point you're like, this isn't resonating with the world. They don't want what we're offering here. Yes. And that doesn't, and then you could say, well, if we only worked on it a little bit longer, and what is that amount of time? Again, for copyright, for like a long form copywriting, for a brand, we look at these sometimes as like in a year, you know what I mean? But really it's like quicker sometimes. So you'll sometimes will move, again, a life thing. You sometimes will move away from things that you could have worked if you'd stayed longer. But as long as you're moving on to a new project that has more success. So that has like almost been like, I'm like, go. And I've been lucky enough to have had, many of these brands work out, many of these offers work out. But that's like a big part of it. And also just, it's so important to work somewhere that you like and to work with people that you like and to cultivate that part of it. And you can't really have longevity if you do not like the place, and if you don't like the vibe, and if you don't like the co-writer. It's more important it's more important to like that part of it than it is to like the work. Okay, everyone's accustomed to not liking the work.
Yeah, work is work.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like an important part too. And I don't know exactly what that means, but they say I also sort of you can have work besties that aren't your like IRL besties, right? And just because you can have different things outside, but like it is important to have people who see the problems the same way. You see the work the same way. So you can vent, basically someone who you can vent to and be like, this person understands, and I like when they vent to me and I agree with them. And I think, so in a way though, that's important in any profession, I think, because but with that longevity, you will care. You know, they talk about like again, right now is a time of year where I just wake up in the morning at home and I have my laptop beside my bed and I just open it up and I want to start working. I'm not getting paid to do that per se. Do you know what I mean? Like, but other people, go walk around this building, you'll find lots of people who are like, I'm checking my numbers, I'm checking like performance of these kinds of things. How are things doing? If you're kind of addicted to it, but I only think that would work if you were like, had someone to talk to about it. So, I don't know. I just think that's sort of important. I got really lucky in that I had great friends, and continue to have great friends at Golden Hippo, but also just a lot of people who I felt we were, you know, as I'm kind of leaving right now in these last few weeks and kind of think, but like I just reflect so much on how much gratitude I have for how like amazing and talented people are at this company, how fortunate I was to sort of get to hang out with them and to work with them. There's people sitting with video editors and just like seeing how talented they are. These are people who, you know, like yourself, have like, you know, film degrees and have made like short films or long films. And we're sitting here together and I'm like, I just feel guilty like giving you notes because you're so talented. But always, again, just such gratitude of like, how did we get lucky enough to have like, you know, that we've got you editing videos about, you know, dog food, and and you're just so amazingly talented. So again, my admiration and gratitude. But like that, if it had been a struggle the whole time, and I was like, ugh, like this doesn't look right, and this isn't like those kinds of things. So I don't know. For me, that was what made it work, was developing and cultivating admiration and gratitude for all the amazing people, and then sticking with those people. You know what I mean? And forming. My title is CMO right now, but I'm not like somebody who's like, let me build a huge giant org. And I'm just not me. I'm small teams, and I don't need it to be like direct reports. So for the past 11 years, what I've really been doing a lot of is just like finding people who I worked well with. And forming like de facto squads. I never needed to say, and there was nobody who was off limits. I've had squads, you know what I mean? Like different teams all over the place, and so many great people. But forming those kinds of like work bonds was super valuable. And that's what I would, and that's like a sort of an advice tip, I think, is to sort of say like, who do you trust to edit you? Who do you trust to work with? It's very important.
Dang, Adam, that was profound. Watching the waves. I'm going to take that as advice for myself, too.
Credit Andrew, my brother-in-law.
Shout out to Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Well, I think this is a perfect time to pivot into sort of the more personal questions. I was going to ask, since you've been here 11 years, do you have a favorite memory from your time here at Golden Hippo?
Favorite memory? So many. Wow. Favorite memory? You know, it was probably like something blurry that I can't remember that well at like a party or like a company event. You know, my favorite memory, they're not, some of my most like vivid and like intense memories are things going wrong.
Okay, yeah.
You know, there's just like so many times on set. So I come from my screenwriting background and like sold a lot of screenplays, but none of them ever got made. And certainly I wasn't directing them. So I was never really like involved like in Hollywood like productions and on sets. So when I got to Golden Hippo and we started working with more and more celebrities and doctors or whatever it was, I started directing, producing the shoots. I just was sort of learning on the fly. And to this day, I'm still just a total like imposter. Like I'm on these sets and I'm like, but I've worked with a lot of like big celebrities over 10 years. And I know what I want and I know what it should, so that's all you kind of really need, I think. But there's an adrenaline rush, and sometimes I've worked with people who did not have rapport with at all. And things going wrong on set. Something drops something stops working, the teleprompter isn't there. But being in the trenches with the production team and like sweating bullets and being like, please, 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 and seeing them like fix it and like get it done and like pull off something impossible. And I was just talking with some of our amazing production team last week. But those are the moments I'm going to miss, is being in sort of like high pressure, intense times and being absolutely saved by somebody, and no one's ever going to know about it. And you see like a finished brand and a finished video and a finished product and everything's great and there's sales, and no one's going to know that that's because this person like got, a random, like a teleprompter working like on at the right time, or put a set together in under a day. And so they're sort of unsung heroes. But to me, that it's the secret knowledge of like, I know, and I try to tell everybody every time it happens, I'm like, this would not have happened without you. So those are like, again, the dopamine for me at some point shifted to not coming from like, hey, something's working. It's like, well, that's cool. But it came from being like, oh, this is like a tense set, and like, and this team just pulled it off. So those are, I won't mention exact examples of that, but times where things could have fallen apart, and we had like an hour to get something done, and then someone was in a bad mood, and there was a meltdown, and things were freaking out, and the day got saved, and I was like, and then you can go and have like a high noon afterwards, and everyone's like, just like cheers, like you crushed it today. That's what I'm gonna miss.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like the creative teams here are so tight knit, and it really is. It sounds like it's a trauma bond. Like the spoils of war comes like this camaraderie.
Totally. Listen, amazing copywriters, amazing video editors, amazing product developers, amazing everybody who supports this building and supports everything that we do, and obviously so many amazing teams. But the closest I am in some ways is with people on the production team because of that stuff. Again, where it's just trauma bonding. So yeah, love love that experience.
And they love you. I mean, you are very well regarded. Like I said at the beginning, People's executive. Like the production teams are always like, oh, we love when Adam is like in charge of the shoot. I've heard that many times. So
they're amazing.
With that, if you could sort of define what you would like your legacy to be at Golden Hippo now that you're sort of moving on to a new chapter, what would you hope that people would sort of feel as they hear that you're leaving?
I want them to be extremely sad.
Yes, of course.
I want them to cry.
We need a week of mourning.
Yep.
I wore black today just for that.
Thank you, I did too. I want, I want widespread tears, crying in the streets. No, I'm just kidding. Legacy? I don't know. I mean, hopefully I treated people well while I was here, and I don't know if I always did, but I always tried, and I hope people have a lot of money in their ESOPs.
Let's all hope for that.
Yeah. And so, no, I mean, listen. I always thought, like, sort of, what's the spider? With great power comes great responsibility. So if someone's going to sort of, when I got hired, it was not important, and it didn't. I don't know if it really mattered if I was successful or not. But as I moved up, it became more and more important that that the things that I and the teams that I was on, we had to succeed. Or brands weren't going to work, and it would be bad. And so I hope the legacy is that I did okay with that sort of mantle, and that people felt that when I was leading something, or when I took charge when I was writing something or producing it, that they felt they were that they had a good shot at like being part of something that was a win, that was a successful brand. Obviously, I hope that the partners that we partner with outside of Golden Hippo have appreciated that. But really, I hope that really, what we were just talking about before, where it's like you want to sort of see and be seen for what you've done, and I want that both ways. So I know it's always been important to me. I feel valued. Thank you, by the way. It's touching to hear like, oh, people like you or respect you or those kinds of things. So that touches me, and it makes me grateful. I hope that I was able to give that. I know I probably couldn't give it to everybody all the time, but none of us can, right? But you hope that over the course of 11 years that that I told people when they were doing really good, that maybe I helped them in a way that they could be better at their job and have more success in their career. People who were new, I hope that how I worked with people in their first month or 3 months did have an impact on the next 5 years or something like that. And so in terms of legacy, really just I would want what I think everybody here wants, and I hope that we all achieved it together, which was that, like, again, we were in the trenches. I was talking about it like this, if I'm walking on the street 10 years from now and you're walking on the street, I'm like, no, and you're like, Adam, and then like we can shake hands and be like, remember those days? You know what I mean? So I hope that, and I hope it's never kind of like, ugh, I can't look at that person, you know what I mean? Because of whatever, So hopefully that's what it is that we all, like, our lives were all collectively better because we knew each other. I certainly feel that way about the people in this building. Like, I don't have the words exactly to express it, but my life changed dramatically. I was, again, broken living in a tent, and now I get to, off and I don't know, go back to the tent, I think. But it's still been like an incredible 11 years. It was just not possible without so many talented, amazing people. And so I hope that I could give back to them 10% of what they gave to me.
And I think you definitely did, Adam. I remember the first time I met you, I was just at my desk in the front, and you came up and you talked to me, and I was like, I don't know who this person is, but cool. He's like so easy to talk to, so easy to chat with. And then you left, and Raina came up and was like, oh yeah, that's Adam. He's like our chief marketing officer. I was like, oh, I did not know and would not have guessed, because I come from like the corporate entertainment background, and when someone like really high up walks into the room, it's like everybody knows, everybody's like kind of like pandered to them and like their needs, and they have a certain like air about them. And you were just like so easy to talk to, such a nice guy. I would have never been like, oh yeah, he's C-suite for sure. Like, not that you're not like professional, you're very professional and good at your job, obviously, but like, just like, so like I said, easy to talk to, just such a genuine person. So I know that people feel the same way, that they're gonna miss you, and that you really enriched their time here and their lives in general. So I don't doubt that will be your legacy as you leave and take the next steps.
It is incredibly sweet and kind of you to say. By the way, then one last shout out to, when I started here, there was 35 people. Mark Clemens is our CEO, obviously still is. And so he would lead like the all hands meeting. But Mark is from that, he's a casual guy. And we did not have a C-suite. And if you had an idea, you just walked up to Mark and said it. And there was never any kind of a wall. And so I just want to give one last credit to Mark for creating a culture. It would be so weird. I don't think we have anybody. It would be so weird if we had anybody, C-suite or otherwise, executives who were like, this was, you make an appointment to talk to me or whatever. It's just not like that. And you see that most of, if you see Marietta sitting in product development, if you see Tyler sitting with the media buyers, they don't have, they're just right there. And so I've always tried to, I think all of us have always been like, it's a very flat company in that way in terms of approachability. And so I just want to shout out the culture of Golden Hippo. Hopefully I would also have been nice no matter what. But, and you're awesome and we'll be friends regardless. But we have, I just want to say, it's not just me. We have a culture of like people are, I just feel like this is a company of peers, and it's always felt that way. And it doesn't matter if you're been here 12 or 13 years or you're brand new. That people, I think, treat each other with kindness and respect here. Except for a couple people, and we'll whisper about them after the cameras are turned off during the actual exit interview, where I'm like, by the way, I lied, and I got 8 people I want to rat out.
No. Not the exit interview.
Just
oh
kidding.
My gosh, yeah, that's for off camera.
But thank you so much for saying that.
Of course,
and,
of course.
I'm glad that we all like each other.
For sure. Yeah, shout out to Mark. I actually had a hard time identifying him when I first started here because he just walks around in his like jeans and t-shirt, and it's like, oh, that's the CEO. Like, I had trouble like recognizing him because he's so casual.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah.
When I think it was 3 months. Maybe it was the first couple of months I was working here. So we would have the all hands meeting in person. There was no Zoom and Google Meets yet, right? This is 2015. And we had an all hands. And they were hiring people new every day. You know, the company was growing, and so they hired somebody, and I forget her name, but I won't use it anyway. And then she was just, people would get hired for jobs, and they'd be like, I don't really know what my job is, and nobody would really know. They weren't getting like a lot of management. They're like, I think why don't you just show up to this meeting and take notes? And so, so this person shows up, and Mark is talking, and then, and she goes, she wasn't particularly polite about it. She's like, can you say that again? You was talking too fast. And then Mark's like, okay. And he sort of said it again. And then she was like, what was that last thing? And then he just patiently like says what it is. And she's like, and what's your name? I was like, I'm Mark. And she's like, and what's your role? Is like, just I'm Mark. And he was very patient with her. And I think the whole meeting was kind of like watching this. But, you know, it was, again, not a company where he's going to be like, you better ask somebody who I am. Like, you know what I mean? That's just never been a vibe. I just don't know. There might be people with a bunch of ego at this company. I'm probably the most ego of anybody. But, like, and I don't, hopefully it's not that much. But it's just not like an ego thing. But anyway, again, setting the tone is important and the company culture. So shout out, Mark.
Shout out to Mark. All right, last question. What is next for you, Adam? What can we expect? What are your plans, if you have any? You might not have an answer to this question, but we're all dying to hear.
What is the use of this room? Am I allowed to stay in this room and just sort of set up like a little...
Just camp out?
Yeah, just put a little sleeping bag down. I have, obviously people are asking me. I genuinely have no clue or idea. One of the reasons why I think I need to leave is because I do want to start a new chapter in my life, and because things are so good here in a lot of ways, it is so comfortable that I feel like my brain is not able to shift to those things. So I'm looking for, and I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to do this, but I'm looking to like sort of be nobody again in terms of my career and in terms of like what I do for, you know, 40 hours a week. And then I'm hoping that there's different things. Now that I have ideas, I mean, like there's part of me would be like, well, would I go back into the entertainment industry? And you know, when we talk about long form copywriting, and I say it's not like screenwriting. I never really liked screenwriting either, but it is sort of like producing, like, you know, I think of these as like mini TED Talks, which are themselves almost like sort of like just mini one-person documentaries. So there's a part of me that's like, can I use my voice and sort of these powers of education, entertainment, and persuasion to talk about other topics outside of building brands, as much as I love our brands. So that's part of it, is to be like, yeah, is there a format there, documentaries or something like that? But also wanting to make more of an impact of some kind, which is, we'll see if I do it. Because I feel like people who make an impact and who are like very altruistic, they have already revealed themselves as that prior to being 46, which is what I am. So it would be odd if I had like a late, you know, adult onset. Like,
it's never too late.
So I would like to be better about those things, and I would like to be doing something that does involve some kind of, I don't want to say giving back, because again, I don't know if, it's more like impact, I think is what it means. But also then I think about it, I'm like, well, I feel like I make impact when I work with people, when I mentor people. And so that also can be part of it. But listen, I love to travel and I love to do those things. But the real answer is that I want just the space to know what comes next. I'm old. You're young. But at 46, I'm old, like relative to when I was a kid. But I'm also young enough that I have some time left in my, I don't know, I wouldn't call this a prime, but whatever this is. And so I'm excited to sort of see what that is. But super kind of, obviously tons of, I'm like 2 weeks away from my final day here, but super mixed feelings because I'm walking away from something that's so great, and people that I love so much, and brands that I love, and work that I love, or loved, I don't know. I still love it, but it's a lot to walk away from. So hopefully, whatever comes next will be worthwhile.
And we will be wishing you the best, of course. I'm sure there are many exciting things to come. New year, new chapter.
I can also just play video games.
I mean, hey, why not? People do.
Sure, yeah.
It could be fun.
You get back into heavy drinking.
I don't know about that. Maybe that's not the dopamine you want to be chasing.
Yeah, that's probably true. All right.
But yeah, chasing dopamine, watching the waves. Sounds like it'll be good.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Adam, for sitting down, for talking with us, for talking to me. I don't know why I got the opportunity, but I'm very glad to have talked with you today.
You are amazing at creating an environment and probing all of my deepest, darkest secrets. So thank you for that. And I wish we had more of these blue seat chats. Is that the name of this podcast?
That would be cute. Blue seat, but these chairs are not very comfortable. I will say they were just aesthetic, so I picked them. But yeah,
well, great. But thank you so much for having me, and this has been really, really fun. And hopefully, I can come back and sit in the audience next time after I'm no longer welcome in the building.
Or we can do like an afters episode where we talk about like the good stuff, you know.
And that's where we do the heavy drinking.
That's where we do the heavy drinking. These mugs will be filled with something other than water for that one.
Maybe mine already is.
Well, on that note, thank you all for tuning in. This has been our send-off interview with Adam Ferrisati. We're very sad to see him go, but very excited for what he's going to do next. And thank you again for watching.
Finally, can leave this hellhole. It was an hour of bullshit and saying I liked everybody.
Oh my God.
Oh, what a terrible, terrible job. Oh, sorry.